GOP Congressman Mo Brooks waited nearly a month before disclosing that he sold up to $50,000 worth of stock in Pfizer, appearing to violate the Stop Trading on Congressional Knowledge Act. The Stock Act requires members to report a stock trade within 30 days of a trade being made for themselves or for their spouse, and 45 days overall from the date of the trade.
According to Business Insider, the congressman's wife acknowledged the filing was late and said she was in full control of the August 16th Pfizer sale and fell short of filing the disclosures until October 14th. Insider reporter Kimberly Leonard joins us now to discuss the situation further. Welcome.
Hi, thank you.
So does that excuse, does that make sense? Does that hold up, that they were just kind of late with filing it and it wasn't anything improper?
Well, one thing I can say is that Insider has been reporting on members' financial disclosures over the past few months, and we have identified at least 40 members of Congress who have in some way violated the Stock Act. And in most cases, members are turning in their transaction reporting late. So sometimes it's months late, sometimes it's a few days, sometimes it's a week or so. But the Stock Act says that within 30 to 45 days of a trade happening, you need to report it to the congressional office. And that's to increase transparency around how members are investing their money and when they're investing it.
What do we know about this trade? Was it profitable? Is it suggestive of any information that only a member of Congress or a spouse would have access to?
I wouldn't say that. So it's pretty unusual, actually, for in us reporting these stories. It's pretty unusual to get a very detailed response from the member. In this case, it was Congressman Brooks' wife called me and gave me details about the trade. It was actually a stock that they inherited from Congressman Brooks's mother after she passed. But what they did was they actually increased the value of the stock. So they bought additional shares last year. Twice, in fact. And so what happened then was that this summer they decided to sell it. She did tell me that it was a result of her financial advisor telling her to sell it. And so that's how she made that decision. We don't know exactly how much money they made off of it. I did ask. They declined to disclose that, and they don't have to disclose it. Members only have to disclose the trades in broad ranges. So it's anywhere, it could be up to $50,000 is what the disclosures show.
And it's stock in Pfizer, but Mo Brooks has been very anti-vaccine mandates. I don't know. I'm not sure exactly what he said about the vaccine itself. So I guess there's a kind of irony that he has enough faith in it to have stock in to purchase additional shares of Pfizer during the course of the pandemic.
Right. Well, one thing that I will say is that his wife said that she controls all of the family's finances and that he didn't know about it. Apparently, he did get asked about it by other journalists and then called up his wife and said, "Do we own stock in Pfizer?" And had not known that it was something that they had invested in. Every family is different in terms of how much they decide to share and things like that. I will say that she took responsibility for filing the trade late. She said that he didn't have anything to do with it. And I will note that in a lot of congressional offices, members of Congress actually have their chiefs of staff file these reports versus having their spouse do it. But it is something that's required. It is still something that the congressman is responsible for, even if he passed on the responsibility to his wife. And as far as Pfizer goes, he has been vocally anti-vaccine mandate. I did find out from his chief of staff that he and his wife both did receive the coronavirus vaccine. But he was also very critical of Pfizer for releasing data after the election. He accused them of holding on to the effectiveness data around the vaccine in order to, basically keep it for the Biden administration. And that was a charge that President Trump made as well.
It's interesting to think how much the politics have changed, because back in October, the number one thing that Trump and his supporters wanted was for, a outfit like Pfizer to produce an effective vaccine, thinking that would guarantee his reelection. Now that they've done it after his election, they're saying actually you shouldn't take it to begin with. It's bogus. The vaccines, have too many side effects, etc. It's just interesting that how one election can flip the politics. And related to that election, I want to get your insight on some new Mo Brooks news. We have a new statement from him about the Rolling Stone report that he was involved with planning the January 6th rally, he said, quote, he had no involvement in planning that rally, but, quote, I don't know if my staff did, but if they did, I'd be proud of them for helping to put together a rally lawful under the First Amendment at the ellipse to protest voter fraud and election theft. And to me, that's one thing that's interesting about this entire discussion is because there's nothing actually wrong inherently with organizing a rally for anything. You can organize a rally, against space aliens. That's your right under the First Amendment. And so, unless they can connect him directly to the actual storming of the Capitol, I think he feels like he's going to be able to say, no, this was just a rally organized under the First Amendment, and that's well within our rights.
He probably will. It'll be really interesting to see how this plays out during the primary. He's not just a congressman, he's running for a Senate seat, to the seat that Senator Richard Shelby in Alabama will be vacating at the end of the rest of his term next year. And so, is this something that is going to be held against him? Is it something that people in Alabama feel that that all Trump supporters are being lumped in with those who charge the Capitol? That's sort of what'll be, I think, revealed, in terms of how it affects him politically.
Yeah. Kimberly, thanks so much for being with us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And we'll be back with more Rising right after this.